And joining me right now is Dr. Richard Wyse with the Cure Parkinson's Trust in the UK. Dr. Wyse, thanks so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So I know that Parkinson's disease is a neurodegeneration, but for a layperson like me, can you explain how it attacks the body?
So it's a very long-term disease. Most people who get it in their 60s or 70s. Some, about 10%, get it much earlier. And people very, very slowly degenerate, about 5% a year. So once you've had it for 10 years, that year on year getting worse starts to cut in, and movement is restricted. There's tremor. There are various other problems with gut function and balance. And it just builds up over the years, and after maybe it changes from person to person. Everyone's Parkinson's is different, but I think probably after around 20 to 30 years, a good proportion of people are in a wheelchair.
And does it?
So it's a slow, but it's a slow burner.
Dr. Wyse, does it affect certain populations more than others that you found in your research?
No, I mean, there are some people where there are families where it's a genetic form of Parkinson's, and various family members can get it, but that's pretty rare. I think your question was more in different countries, does the incidence change? And the answer is no. It's pretty similar in most countries. A lot of countries don't. The population, the people in the countries may not live till, say, I think in India, it might be a life expectancy of around 59 for a man at the moment. I may be out of date there, but if most people get their Parkinson's at 65 or 70, then you won't see so much Parkinson's as you will in a country like Greece or Japan, where people live for much longer, live into their 90s quite regularly. So that can change the number of patients in a country, but it's really related to the age profile of the people in the country rather than it being a geographical issue.
And what challenges have scientists had with finding a treatment? And maybe treatment isn't the right word, but what sort of challenges have there been in the fight against Parkinson's disease?
Well, it's been relatively easy and immensely difficult. And the first answer is about symptomatic treatments. So treatments that we give to patients once a day to relieve their symptoms. And that is about replacement of missing dopamine. It's a neurotransmitter. It's released in the brain, and it's diminished greatly in Parkinson's patients. But you can give replacement therapy, and so each day it helps patients get through that day. So that came out probably 40 or 50 years ago now, and it helps for the first few years, and then it stops working so well. But all the time, there's, from day one of people having Parkinson's, they're getting worse year on year. And the treatments we have at the moment, the symptomatic treatments, don't do anything to slow that annual trajectory of neurodegeneration. So if you're getting worse at 5% a year, maybe 7% a year, after 5 years, you're down to 65% of where you were when you started to get the disease. Go on another 5 years, you're only about 30% as good as you were. So it means that you're shaking more, you're walking not so well, your balance is impaired, and all of the other symptoms that come with Parkinson's, and indeed with a lot of neurodegenerative diseases. So the search is on for a treatment which will stop this annual neurodegeneration, because there's two benefits. One is to the families and the patients themselves, but the countries, once patients become severely affected by Parkinson's, they're very expensive to treat. So if you can stop neurodegeneration very early in the course of the disease, it's wonderful for the patients, but it's spectacular for GDP of countries, because there's 3 million patients in China alone, and the Chinese government's terrified of the cost of neurodegenerative diseases over the next 20, 30 years. It's prohibitively expensive. America's got around 1 million patients, and they're very expensive to treat when they're a few years into their disease. It gets more and more expensive.
So the earlier the better.
If you're going to invent or discover, either's good, an effective therapeutic which stops the neurodegenerative process, then we would be giving it not just to patients in their first year, but we would be identifying the patients before they even got their Parkinson's, because there's a few signs in the 5 years before they actually get Parkinson's. You can pick them out. They lose a sense of smell. There's a number of sleep disturbances and various other ways we can pick out the patients that we believe are going to go on to get Parkinson's. So we can be treating those patients with those relatively minor symptoms early on, and maybe they'll never get the disease ever anyway, because we're treating them early. That's the plan. We're running a lot of clinical trials to explore ways that we can slow, stop, or even reverse this neurodegenerative
So you
process.
talk about the trials and this search. How hopeful are you that you can even stop, or like you said, in a perfect world, reverse, or even, wipe out Parkinson's disease? How hopeful are you?
I'm exceptionally hopeful. When I started doing this, I came from another therapeutic area, and that was 2007, and a very leading neurologist said to me, why are you looking at trying to stop the neurodegenerative process? How could that ever be possible? And I thought, well, okay, there's a challenge for a start, but I think I could see even then that it was possible. We've done a lot of clinical trials. I've got an international committee of 21 of the world's experts, and between us we decide what treatments are going to go into trial, whether they're drugs or should we say regenerative medicine, stem cells, gene therapy, or whatever. They're a great committee, and we've done one of our trials has met its primary outcome of slowing the progression of the disease, and we've just launched a very large trial with the same therapeutic. So it's called a phase 3. It's just before you have to do this before you're allowed to give it to patients sort of countrywide, worldwide. So we're doing that big phase 3 trial on that drug, and we are very hopeful that will be a real game changer for Parkinson's patients. But I think we can do even better than that. So I've got a lot of trials ongoing around the world with a lot of therapeutics that have compelling biochemistries and pharmaceutical properties that convince us they've got a very good chance of slowing down the disease progression even more than the one we've had success with. So yeah, I'm very hopeful. It's immensely complicated. I came from a field of pediatrics and cardiology, and I thought that was really hard. Then I moved into Parkinson's 14 years ago, and that is a different order of magnitude of how difficult it is. There's so many more moving parts, but I think, am I optimistic? That wasn't quite your question, but it was the nature of the question. Yep, I am, absolutely.
Any final thoughts, Dr. Wyse, either on the disease itself or on the trials, a possible cure one day? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, my final thoughts are, I am determined, as indeed are a very large number of my colleagues, to confine this dreadful disease to the medical history books.
We hope you do that very, very soon. So many people around the world and their loved ones are waiting for a cure or better treatments. Thank you for all your work, and thanks for talking with us today, Dr. Wyse.
Thank you. Bye.